Record to my computer. Q. Okay. So everybody can see that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is an overview, but it's showing how, like I said, how they like a high D. We're gonna break this one down a little bit. How they want to move real fast, and they goal orientated. They not like the I. They not people orientated. The high S is about relationships. They want to build a relationship, you know, platonic or intimate, depending on who it may be. And they just want to be a part of it. They want to make it feel like family. We all together, cohesive, everything's flowing. And then you got the high C, is task orientated. They like to do things boom, 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 boom. That's where we get analytical and you get your whole systematic, you know, they got a regimen of how they do things. Perfectionists, it's just always laid the same way, very predictable. They fall right along with the high S. But anyway, we're gonna break down this D. So when we're looking at this, we got the goals. They're very goal orientated. I would also say task orientated, because when you pull up in the DISC assessment, you will see that it's not the graph part, but the one where everything's moving a certain way, and it's like the box. It's the second page just after the words, and you'll see which side they draw more to: people, task, introvert, extrovert, introvert is at the bottom. So they're over here with goals and task is the high D. Productive control. They want to basically almost kind of control it. This is what they seek. Their pace is fast. The priority is goal, and they seek productive control. So they want it productively. Not all necessarily they got to be in control, but they want it going in the way that we said it's gonna go. You follow what I'm saying? And then you got the strengths: administrative, leadership, pioneer. They usually going after a superficial position. They're usually in that. Eventually, I'm gonna give y'all something. It's gonna be a series of numbers. It's gonna be the numbers on the chart, and it's gonna be like 99, 81. You know, it's gonna be those numbers that are on the DISC assessment, and we gonna figure out which job is this person best equipped for, or what job do they possibly have. You follow? Just by seeing the numbers, you ought to be able to see it that way. Oh, this is what this person's doing. You follow what I'm saying? The more we get acclimated in this, as well as you seeing the behaviors, and that's just seeing the numbers, not the colors.
Gotcha.
Because as the more you going through that the word play, well, you know where 50 is from how we count. And so the more, but that's down the line, the more we get into this. I'm just giving y'all a warning of some things to look out for. Growth areas: impatient, insensitive to others, poor listeners. Now that's not every D, but it is a great majority of a high D. You talking, especially if you a high S or a high C. High C's like to give details because they see the details. The high D is like, I don't need the details, just give me the meat. Cut that off, boom, boom, boom. So as well as with an S, because they team. So they thinking that stuff is vital, and it's to help you or help the team or help the situation, help the job, helping the family. So, and then they don't move too fast. So they explaining this stuff in a calm, peaceful manner. And the high D is like, hurry up, cutting you off. Variance, you can be in the middle of the sentence, don't get to finish. I mean, just very much. They don't do a lot of inhaling. They just do a lot of breathing. And you like, wait a minute, can I get in there? Especially if it's an argument. And for them to be, they can get insensitive to others. So they can be insensitive to the emotions of the high I, the oversensitivity of the S, and the preciseness and pace of the high C, doing everything right. And if they're a poor listener and you a high S, and they're trying to talk to you, you're talking to them or trying to coach them, they seeing there's a problem, but as you're trying to weigh this out or speak to them, they can be very pushed back. Are they gonna listen? So I don't want you to be discouraged and believing that, okay, then I guess I can't talk to no D's that we just threw. There are 7 things that I would want you. Ebony in Texas. I'm gonna tell her so. I forgot that. So let me pull this up. Darrell, are you on Telegram?
No, I don't think I got that one.
I want you to look up, set up a profile for Telegram. I think, Joe, you are in Telegram.
Yeah.
Right? And Ebony is, because I got a group in there, the power coaches. Sometimes this information, some things we're talking about, I'm going to share it with you in there. And that'll be like basically our message between us. You follow what I'm saying? Only y'all going to get the info that I get.
Just like Group Me.
Yep. Yeah. I just use Telegram. So there's 7 things you might want to write this down. We talked about it a little bit, I think, last week, but these are some of the things that you want to have to make sure that when you speak into that high D or anybody, it can be an S that's like this. It doesn't matter, or a C. It doesn't matter. They may just have, some confusion and some pushback, not fully accepting, where they kind of like this difficult person. So number 1, you want to make sure that you have their goals. What are their goals? Especially with this high D. What is that high D's goals? You want to ask them what are their goals, basically. Then number 2, you want to ask them, do they know what their blind spots are? See, you gotta hit them with questions that they may not necessarily have an understanding of. Now, any one of you, somebody tell me, what is a blind spot?
Oh, you asking?
Yeah, I'm asking y'all. I said, one of y'all tell me. What's a blind spot?
Some things that they basically do not know that they can have, like things that they don't identify as a weakness or something that they're missing, that is a basic characteristic that I think everyone should have. Whether that be like, I mean, like in terms of let's say like, do you see that you do this? And you like, no, I never knew I did that, and do you see how it can affect other people by the way your characteristic can, I wouldn't call it a characteristic, but something that is just a learned behavior,
Okay, but it's kind of like you write around it, but let's just keep it simple. I told y'all that was one of the first things right there on top of your page. Darrell, you want to stab at it?
I ain't gonna lie, I'm actually looking for it in my notes.
You write around it, Joe, in a sense, but let's just keep it simple. A blind spot is something you're not good at. It's just that they're not good at this thing. The weakness is when they try to manufacture that blind spot.
Mm-hmm. See, I was gonna say it backwards.
And so that's key to have. That's why I was like, that's the first thing you put that on your selling paper. Put that at the top of it, and grain that in you when you talking to them. The disc is revealing these blind spots, these things that they're not good at. Everybody got something they're not good at.
Mm-hmm.
A high D is not necessarily good at procedures or following them and crossing the T's and dotting the I's and measuring it twice before they cut it once. They moving too fast. A high D gonna miss that. So he's not good at, he may get you to the place if it's laid out, but you telling him, the high D, map out the course, give me the details, the landmarks that we gonna come across on our way, how many miles it's gonna cost, how much gas it's gonna cost. He gonna look at you like you crazy. Look, man, it's in that direction. Let's just go. Or her. Y'all feel me?
Yeah.
The high C is gonna give you some details. They gonna lay it out. They can tell you landmarks. They gonna boom, 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 boom. They may be good at the paperwork. They may be good at the stuff like that. The administrative, not administrative. They're good at systems and orchestrating and putting things together. They're great at the planning. That's the high C. They can put that stuff together every time.
I got a question too. Would you be able to say there's no such thing as a toxic trait, but instead of weakness?
That can be safe to keep your client.
I'm just
I mean, that would be better to say that is there's just some weaknesses and they just not aware of it. Can they be toxic? Yeah, to give y'all a little bit more insight, there's ways to see if you're dealing with someone who's a sociopath.
Mm-hmm.
High D's, and I don't know if you know what a sociopath is, but that's the person that can be so manipulative, exploit your weaknesses or your insecurities and use them against you to get wherever they trying to go. It is sometimes a high D and a high I can have that capability. And if they got some high C in them, it's a problem. If they are a high D and a high C, that is flat out an asshole. There has been no other way to describe them. Like, they can really be, I mean, okay, that's going to really repel them away. But when they see their own chart, when they see it, some of them that I've spoken to, the high D is like, man, I don't like that. I don't like that about me. Like, you sure this thing is correct? And I'm like, do you do any of that stuff that it's saying? And that's just the C. I mean, I'm sorry, that's just the disc. Mm-hmm. You add the values to it, and if they got like they want political control, they got a low aesthetic where they don't care about the harmony. Their altruist as far as serving of people is low, and they got a high economic and a high power, and maybe a decent individual because they so strong in who they are. Well, you're dealing with a recipe for disaster, man. That's your super villain. I'm serious. So we can have the superhero, your power. They can use it as a villain. Mm-hmm. But it ain't saying that only the D can do that. A high I can give so much power to the room. They can come in the room and blow it up, make everybody so happy and joyful because they all about people, participation. Y'all see it here, but they want applause. They seek participation and they seek applause. So if they seeking people to participate as well as applause, and you standing next to them, they gonna take all your 5 minutes of fame. You may not get it. You may not get it because they gonna take, hey, haha, it's all about me. Mm-hmm. And if you show up and let's say you just poised and charming, or you write, you in those subtleties, but you can turn it on and talk and present your talent or your gift, and people start praising you. Oh, that's how I get butt hurt. He in his emotions. He looking at you like, man, this some bull. How he coming around? And then it's like now he in his villain mode. he's digressing, his adaptive is going down, and now he in thought retrospective, he very he or she is very insecure now, and they looking at you like you the enemy. And all y'all both had the same task. Y'all was supposed to host it or something to that nature. They like your idea instead of their idea. Oh, it's on. They upset.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say the same way a high I can put the energy in the room, they can suck the energy out.
You absolutely
Just by giving
right.
it too much.
Yep, they can suck it out. Like, man, this okay. Chill, fam. You being too much. Can we? Can you calm it down? They can bring energy and power into the room, or they can pull it all out. So when they don't know who they are, they'll kill the atmosphere. They'll kill the vibe.
Mm-hmm.
So back to this D. These are their strengths. You know, administrative leadership, pioneer. They want to get there. They're very capable of that. Now, go back to those 7 things that you want to ask the client. I'm sorry, I'm kind of all over. I apologize. I'm going to stay on pace. We're going to finish the D. I gave you, they need to know their goals or ask them what their goals are. Are they aware of their blind spots? The next question is, how are you viewed? You're going to ask them, how do people see you? Or what do you think people see when it comes to you? You get me? The next question is, number 4, are they misunderstood? Do you think people misunderstand you? This is something you should ask them all. Ask the D, the I, the S, and the C. Ask them all these questions during your consultation or if you proceeding. But it's good to get this groundwork to ask them this in the beginning. So number 5 is, what do you want people to know? What do you want people to know about you? Number 6, what are you willing to do to get what you want? What steps as far as the tactics that you use to bring this to their attention? And if they want to make these changes, what are they willing to do? Not just to obtain their goals, but to be aware when you're trying to help them. What are they willing to do? And then the 7 is the biggest one. You asking them, do I, your coach, do I have permission? Do you give me permission to speak in your life? To basically also, do you give me permission to call you out and not you get upset, hot, and pissed off and be like, I don't want to talk to you tomorrow? Do I got permission? And these are some things our coach broke it down, but this was some stuff I was like, okay, this is naturally what I do because I'm also a substance abuse counselor. So I'm usually asking them, like, can I be blunt with you?
Mm-hmm.
You know, can I tell you what I'm really seeing? And depending on the relationship and how long I've been interacting with them, it's like, look, man, I'm just gonna tell you. I never said I lied to you. I'm always gonna be straight up with you. I ain't trying to hurt your feelings, but you acting kind of manic right now. You acting all over the place. You acting in your emotions. This is where you're making your decision and you're not thinking it all the way through. You really think that's a good choice. And then it's still on them.
Mm-hmm. And I had learned that too. Before I tell somebody, you know, what I feel or have an opinion about them, I ask them a question about, like, do you think this is the right thing to do? You know, or or do you think, you know, what you're doing is, you know, the best decision or choice? And sometimes they tell you, you know, and I'm like, you know,
I've had them tell me, no, this ain't a good choice, but I'm finna do it anyway. I mean,
yeah.
Okay.
Like, because people already be having, you know, they already be having what they really want. Like, even if they ask you, sometimes they just want that, you know, some clarity before they do what they do, you know, like.
And I've also found, which can be very hard, it's a tactic of of speaking to someone who has resistance. It's a motivational interviewing skill. And I learned this working where I work at for the last 4 years. And sometimes you got to roll with their negative decision. And so that's like, they're saying like, no, man, I'm finna go over there and blow up her crib. Or, you know, cause the relationship, you know, if that's what you into, as far as you bring in relationship coaching. And you're like, well, okay, let's go ahead and do that. That sounds, if that makes sense to you, I can be on board with it. Let's go ahead and blow up her house or her car, like you said, and you know, and then we'll wait for whatever consequences that can come from that. So, you know, let's just go ahead and do that. I think if that's what you feel, I'm on board with you. I mean, look at you like. And be serious. You got to be serious. Like, if this is what you want to do, then let's go ahead and do this, man.
I seen somebody on Facebook say something similar to what you just said, though. And it's so weird because I had to look at it from a different place because it's definitely negative from what I seen that person say on Facebook. But the person he said, I'm not that person who's going to stop you from killing yourself. Like, you know, like, I'm going to tell you, like, I'm like, okay, so that's what you want to do? Okay, like, do it then. Like, you know, and I had to take it from like just what you just said there. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so if you kill yourself, just know, you know.
Exactly.
you know?
These the consequences. You leaving the family, your hopes, all these other things you said you was trying to do, wanted to do. I mean, you even leaving me behind. I mean, but if that's the decision that you think is the best in the absolute world, now you got to be careful. Now, I ain't saying in a suicide situation you should be like, yeah, go ahead and do it. That motherfucker might jump. Don't.
Yeah, no, it was just so ironic that I seen, you know, you saying that, like, sometimes support, and I just actually seen somebody say something similar to that.
Yeah,
like,
so,
you know.
And that's called rolling with the decision. You know, and it's like I sit there with people like, man, I'm thinking about going to get drunk, go get me a drink. It's just, this is too much. And I'm like, well, okay, if that's what you think is the best thing to do, man. I mean, you didn't come this far and you've held out a lot. You've resisted this, you resisted that, you know, but you saying this is all you can take. I get it. Okay, so let's do that. Now, what is possibly some of the consequences from it? And then I sit back and be like, and they either gonna tell me, and they start thinking, they start going down that line. It's gonna do this. It's gonna be, man. Okay, man, I'm just pissed off. Well, okay, I can work with that. That's great. Yeah, you pissed off. What you pissed off about? So you got to be able to roll with them. But like I said, you got to get that permission to speak into their life to call them out, you know. And some of them, sometimes they just want to vent it. So you have to, which is somewhat of a good skill with high S's and high C's, because they can be patient, that they also good listeners. So that is key to being able to listen. What? Yes, it is. Being able to listen to them and what they're trying to accomplish, those goals and the blind spots, and when you start revealing this stuff. And you got to let them talk. But you also got to pay attention to this. A high D can also take over the session. So you have to be able to establish yourself as the, not authority, but the expert in this area. You follow what I'm saying? So knowing that DISC assessment, knowing their values, doing that homework about them, and as they reveal themselves, it's going to be hard to not insult them.
I was going to say, with that right there, what I learned is, and you told me this, like with a high D, you got to choose your line of questioning a little bit different. Just like you said, they want to take over the session. But what you do is you use almost like reverse psychology. Like you ask the questions almost from the standpoint of the patient, which they'll answer them like they the expertise, but what they really doing is opening up into their life,
and that's
which they not even know.
Exactly, and that's what these 7 questions you use that for, I mean, they definitely for a difficult high D, but they're also for anybody that
Yeah,
you
I
come
learned too.
across.
I learned too, even with high Ds, you got to really compliment them in ways where they feel good about themselves. Like, you
Absolutely.
know,
They want to be applauded.
yeah,
They do want some applause. That also allows them to put their guard down. So it's not manipulating when you know this is what a person desires. Is it manipulating if you told me, if Joe was like, man, I want a hamburger, and I got you a hamburger? That ain't manipulating. You said you wanted a hamburger, so I
yeah.
bought you a hamburger.
I noticed with me. I noticed with my personality style with high Ds, I kind of tend to gravitate into being more sarcastic a lot. Whereas like I'm joking with them more often, like, dang, you know, you look good today, or you know, like that's some nice shoes you got on, like, you know what I'm saying? But
Make
it's
it
more
genuine.
it's more play. I mean, it's more playful, you know, like instead of just making them feel uncomfortable, I just kind of just try to make them feel as if they're accepted, even though they can be assholes, you know.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
But
I was gonna say for myself, before understanding the diss and everything, dealing with a high D, I instantly would be like, I just start asking you questions.
Yeah.
Like, I just ask you questions, and to the point where you understand that like you don't have the answer to every question. But I just stopped
exactly.
doing that.
Huh?
I said I stopped doing that once I start understanding the diss assessment. I just started talking to him like, well, you know the way that you communicate with people is not gonna get across the way you want it to.
Exactly.
Like, what you mean? Then once you break it down to them, basically
Exactly.
once you give them the results of what they looking for, they'll instantly like correct the mistake that they making, because they don't even understand that it's a mistake in the instant.
And that's it. That's now making them aware of their blind spot that they've been manufacturing, or no, they don't even know they got it. They just
They don't.
keep doing it, and they wondering why this ain't working. But it's a wrong behavior or an approach to a person. So once you make them aware, well, you know this person is like this, and you keep saying it to them like this, they not gonna hear it like this. They aware, because they'll say, oh, "You right. They do be doing stuff like that. They do respond like this to things." But I'm telling them such and such, and this is really what I mean. Remember what you just said. They respond like this. So why is you giving them chicken when they ask you for beef?
Exactly.
And when they see that, they go, oh. But then you got some that don't give a damn. They do not care. They still like, this is the way I'm gonna talk to them. They gotta understand.
Like,
and it's like,
oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, and they like understand. No, it's better to understand than to be understood. I usually hit them with that always. That's my favorite go-to. Bust them in the head back quote. It's better to understand than to be understood. What you finna say, Darrell?
No, I'm just gonna say, like how you said they try to give you chicken when you ask for beef. They be like, it's meat anyway. That's how they call meat. So what does it matter?
They matter? They gonna be fed. This is
yeah.
It's like, no, man. It's like, come on. If you can accommodate it, let's do it. You'll get them following you, and celebrating you, and getting on the same page with you. If you can digress and give them what they asking for. You know.
Other thing. Oh, not to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
But I was gonna say the other thing. I don't know if you just spoke to this or not, but these also feel like, to a certain degree, when they don't like understand themselves all the way, that people just don't like them.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I remember, well, I was gonna say, I remember when we talked about the lady Yolanda. And me and you was talking about her, and I was like,
supervisor.
Yeah. Joe know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I'm like, and she'll sit back and be like, everybody don't like me. They just don't like me. I don't know why. Then when I sat back and broke it down to her one day after understanding this, she just sat there and was like, I didn't even know I'd be doing that. Like, yeah, it's the tones and the mannerisms you use when you speak to people.
Right.
Like, to a certain degree, you try to get, like you said, you try to make them follow you in this direction, but you trying to make adults follow you like children. It don't work that way.
Exactly. Because they not looking at those characteristics of the personality dynamics. They don't know the I, the S, and the C is in the room. And they know they're there, but they don't know how they're affecting them. And so if you don't know how you're affecting a person, how can you lead the person? So that's why it is always better to understand than to be understood. So until they get that and figure out, accept where they are, but be a little bit more patient and kind of slow down and look at the audience, look at the room of people that they're engaged in. That's how they can make the changes, but that's your task to bring that to their attention, because this is also the thing with that high D, that growth area. We talked about how they can be impatient, insensitive to others, and poor listeners. So pointing out that blind spot, do you do this? Then we got their fear, which is a big thing that can keep them from progressing or making those connections. They fear being taken advantage of. And that's powerful to them. That whatever way, nobody likes me, but it's all because they're responding this way so they don't get hurt. And you got to realize some of this is developed out of sometimes some situations as a child. What has them making decisions so abruptly? What has them responding the way that they do to people and situations? Who hurt them in their past? Especially when they high D's and then it goes down significantly and you see it, it's like, what's causing this irritation? What's causing this digress? What's causing you to get stressed out when this is your sweet spot, but what's stopping it? Is it home? Is it a new type of problem that you've never faced before? And that's where we asking those other questions, the goals, and just, how does this make you feel? What makes you feel this way? You got to basically, it's like being a psychologist, but you're asking them open-ended what questions. Remember that it's open-ended what in the form of a question. What makes you? What does this? What causes this? What are your thoughts about? What are the obstacles you've been facing? And then in addition and when we're understanding that can be key on their mind, if they're thinking someone is taking advantage of them, that's why they're so aggressive at, hey, you gonna do this, and boom, I gotta be demanding and make sure you don't try to hurt me because I don't want to be hurt. So they're gonna say what they need to say, cut and dry. That's a fear. Next, then we get down to that irritation, irritations. They're irritated with inefficiency and indecisiveness. So when somebody can't make a decision as quick as them, someone is not on their job, accepting of it, doing it how they would possibly do it. Oh, they upset with you, then them up. And that will also, like, say you a high S, high C, and you do your thing a certain way, and you mess up. It can be one time, which is you doing everything so well, and you screw up that one time. They can bring it down on you. I almost think that they perfectionists more than the high C is, because they almost unforgiving. The high C is forgiving. They do this to themselves, wanting to look a certain way. And they do kind of expect other people to follow the same way because they've worked it out. A high C has worked it out. They've troubleshot it. They got the facts to back it up. So this is the way it should be going. A high D has a certain direction of how they do stuff. They task orientated. This is the way we do it. And if they're trying to make their follow procedures through their high D, they're going to miss details, so that C is going to drop low. And now they're moving even faster, and they feel even more belittled because they're making stupid mistakes that they feel is stupid because I should have caught that. You follow what I'm saying? I should have been aware of that. I shouldn't have missed that. because they also feel they got all their stuff together. Remember that's Iron Man. He's looking a certain way, even the cut on his face, the whole nine, everything was together. And if you stand Iron Man next to Captain America, Iron Man, Tony Stark's had his face and beard cut a certain way to bring attention to himself, where Captain America, he was just clean shaved, but he's standing there with a demeanor of like an eagle, like with all this honor, with his head and his chest out, where Tony Stark is standing there like, I wish you would. You know what I'm saying? He got his hand like, come on, I wish you would. But you follow what I'm saying? You can see it even in their stance, how they carry themselves. This is the D posture. I think, remember when I was talking to you, Darrell, in the beginning, I said, how does she posture herself?
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying? It's like Captain America. You can see Captain America, a high C, standing there with his hands on his fist on his hips, like, you know, on that dun 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 dun. But a high D is standing there like, in that, you know what I'm saying? Like their hands on their hips, like, I will crush your ass. You know what I'm saying? It's totally different.
I got a question.
What was so weird from Yolanda when I remember her? She was so high. She's a very high D for sure, but like when talking to her, sometimes it was as if she did not have a recollection of like who she was, like, to people. Like if she was a look in the mirror and people were like, no, like they would get irritated or angry, she'd just like have a question mark on her head as if it didn't, like she didn't just, you know, like that didn't hurt somebody's feelings or
like,
you know,
why you hurt? Yeah, like why that hurt you?
Like, yeah, it was more like that. It wasn't as if, you know, she probably, I'm not gonna say she didn't want to know, but it's like she didn't care to know why you feel that way. Like, you know.
Yeah, she didn't want to know too. She didn't want to know and she didn't care. But
I can speak to that because I had a conversation with her. What it was nobody took the time to like actually communicate that to her. So she always thought it was just whatever she said or did was like, if you just walked away, you took, like you was just gonna take it and accept it. So I remember it was a time where she spoke to me a certain way and I had to pull her to the side. Like, you can't talk to me as if I'm a child. I'm an adult just like you are. I might be younger than you, but I'm still an adult and I'm gonna respect you as such, and I demand that same respect.
I put her off. I put her to the side too one time too. I did the same thing where she said, "Hey, you know, don't do that or that, you know, that." And I'm like, "Hey, you know, I had just basically put, you know, after that little situation, I gave it a little bit of time. I walked over to her and I was like, hey, you know, I understood why you said what you said, and I agreed that I should probably slow down and do it this way. So I don't want you to feel as if I'm not listening to you, but I just wanted to give you that clarity to let you know that I'm trying to allow you to know that, you know, I'm hearing you for what you're saying, you know, because she was so about like getting that out. And I'm like, I understand what you're saying. And she was like, no, I'm just saying, like, you know, because it is that, and other. And I'm like, I agree. Like, I hear you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, still feels as if that person hasn't taken it in yet.
It's right up here. Poor listeners. You can be in an argument with them and they telling you, no, you don't do such and such, and you never did this, and you ain't did that. And you like, yeah, you right, I didn't do it. And I keep telling you to say, huh? Or they'll keep, well, no, they won't stop. They'll keep on going. And you like, I already said yes. I totally agree with you. I don't do that. I'm trying to make that change. Well, you prime example, poor listeners.
Mm-hmm.
They not knowing when to hear it. They don't know how to hear that because they moving so fast trying to get their point across. They miss your social cue that you're being humble or going, you nodding your head going, yup. And they don't see that as you're listening. They just think you just doing that to accommodate them. Like, he's just nodding his damn head. He ain't comprehending. He don't think they thinking that at the same time while they trying to correct you.
Mm-hmm.
And just add more confusion. And you have to be able to get their attention and assure them, because they don't want to be taken advantage of. And they They get.
I think you gotta get them while they're off guard for them to listen. Like, you know, it gotta like kind of take them like, oh, I wasn't expecting it. Like,
you gotta wait. You gotta let them get their stuff out,
yeah,
and then come
exactly.
to them later.
Yeah.
And don't be like, oh, F them, blah, blah, blah. Because as a high essence can get like that and be like, you know, I ain't stunting them. You know, get cynical, sarcastic, talk about them behind their back. Because they like, because if I go to them, they ain't going to understand. So I don't even want to talk to them. And that's sometimes not the case. You pull them to the side, you know, making that attempt and letting them know, like kind of like what Darrell was saying, and they may be open to it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, under stress, if they under stress, some things not going well in their life, they can be very dictatorial and critical. They ain't got time to listen to your rebuttal. They wanted you to do it exactly this way, meaning they moving even faster when they under stress, because that's that adaptive. Or I'm sorry, that's not the adaptive. That's when they digressing. Something else is taking over in the room. Sometimes a high D can yield to a higher D. If you got somebody that's like 66, 67, you know, that's in the echelon of a high D, but there's somebody in the room who's 99 or 81, they'll digress. That adaptive will kick in, and they just a little bit more responsible, not necessarily all the way down to agreeable, and what's the other one before that? I can't think of the word. Agreeable is at the bottom. Mild. They can be mild. If they drop that far, there's a real problem going on as far as them when it comes to a decision to figure out what's going on in that room. And that's where you can help them when they realize what they're yielding to or what's causing this stress in their life or in that moment. What moments is it? If they drop that far, that's a huge problem. If they way up here, then they drop so far down. And I haven't seen too many do that unless it's, you know, it's something really getting under that D skin that make them just, you know, shrink in a corner. And it's like, wait a minute, Iron Man, where you at? And you can't find them. That's a huge problem. It's like, what is happening to you? You know, especially if it's a woman, are you being abused? Is it, you hear what I'm saying?
Mm.
And if they open up to you as far as that, you can see it. But whatever that stressful thing is asking them and seeing it, but again, with the I, the S, and the C, not taking it personal. Gain security. This is now, if they got the fears of being taken advantage of, how they get security is by having control and being more of a leader. Wanting to lead more, just making sure it's not from a dictatorial or critical way of leadership, like somebody breaking you down, being very critical to you, not raising you up, but, you know, pointing out everything. That's going to cause more problems in their life as well when they're not aware that they're being overly critical or they're being too much of a dictator, or because they're afraid of not having control. And like I said, this combination right along with the value, if this person has a high political, oh man, they want all the power. They want it going exactly their way. They'll fight you for it. They ready to come to blows to it, you know what I'm saying, and insult you with it. They can be the look can be very unstable to a lot of different people. Measures personal worth by impact of results, track records, and results. So when they doing very well in whatever the area that they're in, their expertise in an administrative or leadership role, manager, if y'all getting the numbers, everything moving smooth, y'all getting high numbers, they look at that as they doing their job. That's the pat on the back. Everybody doing what they supposed to do, doing it on a timely manner. We going in this direction, ain't no hiccups. They all about those results. Task driven. They're not caring about your emotions and your well-being and that you look at them as such a great leader. They like, if I'm a great leader, you should be performing at your best. That was like that with Michael Jordan. You ain't doing what you're supposed to be doing, Then what you on the team for? I'm finna trade you. Now we looking at the last part in sporting events. In sporting environments is very efficient, busy, and structured. They, again, like Jordan, he was very efficient in how he did and how he moved. Kobe the same way. They were very busy. He was movement on the court. They were doing what they were supposed to be doing, and they were very structured. That's where they got some relation with that of a high C. But usually the high C is sitting on the bench like Phil Jackson. He the orchestrator. He the one seeing it, the traffic control. He making sure everything. He's Captain America. He watching it play by play. Very structured in how they put things together. That's why they're the high C and a high D is almost the flip side of a coin. Because a high D, if a high D has his facts laid out, he will argue with a high D. Because he like, I got the facts, and I don't care what you talking about. Facts don't lie. So we can go toe to toe. I know if you do this, I know how this looks. I done broke it down. I done analyzed it. They very analytical. It's almost like they can see the trajectory of the ball, how it should go, want to have the mechanics all well, have the Google in their mind, the dictionary, the word. They can have it all laid up. And the D can be coming like, this is what it's supposed to happen, yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. You start hitting them with facts. Look, Michael Jordan, you telling me that person is a weak player. That person is only 40. He's only 20% from the 3-point range. I ain't jumping to try to block that shot.
He gonna it's like
he gonna hit
how
3 a
basketball
game.
is now when it comes to analytical. You know, people who watch basketball back in the day, they're like, that person's good. And then you get those analytical people who like pull out the stat sheet and the numbers like
he whacked.
You know, LeBron James is better than Michael Jordan. I'm just letting you know he had assists. He had, you know, his turnover ratio was this, and it's like, you know, it's more different.
Exactly. They argue from that point, the well-roundedness, the percentages, the things that he's done from this team to that team, all of that type of stuff. And those numbers, looking at that is like, you measure that up to Jordan, like, nah, Jordan had a sucky percentage from the field, but he shot all day. Mm-hmm. So, of course, he gonna hit it. Where LeBron will tell you, no, I made 7 out of 10 from the threes. I made in the field in the 19 range from the rim. That was my highest percentage. I went 20 for 20 right there. Jordan be looking at him like, huh? Yeah. what that matter? Did you win? We got there. That was the bottom line. Did you win? No, we didn't win, but LeBron, but he done assured the whole team, done rallied them all together. And Jordan, like, look, I put up such and such tonight, and we won. Get out of here with that. I don't want to hear that. and that's the thing. I'm glad you brought him up, LeBron. So what do you think LeBron is? In this DISC, what is LeBron, y'all?
I would say
what?
High C.
Joe?
Yeah, I would say a high C, but also a high I.
I would say high C, high S.
Yeah, I think he's more of a high S.
Okay.
Because think about his style, even from high school to where he is now. He will pass the ball on a fast break. That dude that's ahead of him, he gonna throw an alley. Mm-hmm. Watch how he played with Dwayne. Remember how he played with Dwayne Wade? Mm-hmm. It was like he was the point guard. Mm-hmm. He even on his basketball team at high school, I saw highlights. Man, He was setting his players up like a mug. Even though he had the ball most of the time, but he was setting them up. This dude is a super supporter. Yeah. Super high supporter.
When I was saying influence, I'm just more thinking about like how people look up to him, and he's kind of like, it's always a light that's shining on him to where he has to just make decisions in a way where it's more, orchestrated versus it's just being
I think I don't I hear you and I agree, and I think that's been thrusted upon him, and
okay.
he's taken that mantle, which I think his eye is probably charming, poised, but he's not an absolute attention seeker.
Okay.
Even when they interviewing him, he's not like, "Hey man, we won the game with such and such." He don't do that. That's Kevin Hart. You know what I'm saying? Energy, all in your face. He very subtle and poised as far as in his eye.
Okay.
And when he interviewed, he hit with facts.
Yeah.
He's definitely a high C, and he's when you watch him out there on the field, he's very supportive.
Mm-hmm.
Very supportive. I heard people, I can't think of the one dude he played with was doing an interview, and he was like, man, they was comparing LeBron to Carmelo. And he said Carmelo showed him how he was a leader.
Oh,
LeBron, huh?
Talking about Iman Shumpert.
Yeah, and that's what was Iman Shumpert. And he said, but LeBron taught him. He said he was a teacher. He taught him how to do it. That's support. I'm going to educate you. I'm going to hit you with these facts. The high I, Carmelo, I'm going to show you.
Okay.
Watch me. They too. That's why I'm like, no, he's more of a high S, possibly high C, because he's very analytical. Shepard said he was throwing facts out. I'm like, dude, over there on that corner, such and such, only 26% on the 3-point. Like, dude, he know the stats of the person.
Yeah.
And how well they shoot in home games as well as away games. That's that high C. He breaking it down. So when they really try to compare him to Jordan, there's no comparison.
Mm-hmm.
I would compare him to Michael Magic Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a better Magic Johnson. He could take over the game. I mean, he's a one man who can play 5 positions.
Yeah.
Jordan wasn't like that.
Yeah, Jordan was a pure scorer. He was just, you could put anybody in front of him, and his whole goal is just to score the basket.
Exactly. He at the most was 2-dimensional, but it was all wrapped around scoring. He had to prove he could steal the ball. He could make passes. He had to prove that he could be more defensive. LeBron is just that naturally.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, and he's all about the support of the team. If we lose, we lose.
Yeah. And one thing I did learn about LeBron, he wasn't a natural scorer, so that's something that had to be. Yeah.
No, he's athletic, which allowed him to be able to. He's 6'9". He can play the power forward, small forward, point guard, shooting guard. But the shooting guard, he's still setting up players, and he's going to try to take. He's not going to try to take. He's going to make sure he takes the higher percentage shots.
Yeah.
So that's high C, high S.
I agree.
So, so I guess getting back to that, understanding if you had a difficult person on your team, and this is what you need to necessarily possibly look at. Next week we'll look at the high I. The other ladies are not there. We will look at the high I, the high S, the high C, to break those things down a little bit more as far as getting the idea of the person. In addition to, I want y'all to look back through this as far as homework and pay attention to it. Also recognize it in yourself, your strengths and your weaknesses and the areas that you need to grow in. Also, I want y'all to go through, let me look at my screen to share. Is it in there? Oh, your power assessment. Yeah. Let's look at that. Stop the share. Open up the share. I want y'all to go through this assessment as far as, we shepherd, not selling them, getting that understanding, but also paying attention to right here. The D, the I, the S, and the C. You should have this somewhere. The category determines one's tendency to solve problems and make decisions with little or no time to think about what you are doing instinctively. How do you approach problems and make decisions? Individuals who score high D are task oriented, direct, and carry a let's get it done mentality. Individuals who score low are more agreeable and typically dislike confrontation. The high D likes confrontation. They don't mind getting in the trenches and hashing it out and arguing backwards and forth until they come to an agreement. They can be very their way or the highway. You follow what I'm saying? So you got to be able to word this in a manner to the D to see the strength, though. So, and when we looking at that strength, let me pull up somebody. Where that boy at? Stop here. Whose disc assessment do I got on deck?
And say if you can, you put mine up.
Okay, cool. Our coaches, Darrell. So when we pull up, we pulling up the rails. And now, dang, what was my point I was just going to say? Oh. That this is, so the applause to them is their approach to problems. You a leader, you can make decisions pretty fast, depending on where theirs is. Darrell's is low, but it's still, that doesn't mean it's not a power. It's just because it's still a superpower. He just prefers it to use it here. And he looks to this, his caution more, or the high C, to help him make the decisions, because he's an analytical. He's going to think about it. He's doing the same thing here. Agreeable, deliberate, and mild. He's not going to make an aggressive decision. He's going to put some thought into it before he actually does it. What can cause Darrell to go from 14 to 10 is if he's not given that time to make that decision. Again, that's over here, his C. He 88. He's not given that time, or he's being pressured, or he has to make it quickly. That's when he drops down. Now he's making it a little bit faster, but that's where he's possibly making those mistakes, and he's under stress. The whole idea is to not be stressed out, not allow people to push you and make you perform to their level. That ain't never cool. If somebody was a high D and Darrell is a high C, and the high D is like, hey, you moving too slow, I need you to make this decision a lot quicker. He needs to be aware that he can do that, and it prolongs the process to where it's not, all that is not as necessary. Let's keep it moving and keep it going, so he can benefit from a high D who gives him a little bit of nudge and a push. But when that person is saying you absolutely need to be like me, you absolutely need to make faster decisions, that's going to stress him out. And it's like, now he ain't at harmony. The D is only thinking about themselves, saying, do this, do it this way. And if they're stressed because you move slow, like it said, when they're in that position, let me pull it back up. Okay, dang, that wasn't it. Shoot, where'd it go? I got rid of it. Let me find it. Hold on, y'all. Bear with me. Well, y'all see it. Don't y'all got y'all sheet that got that on there?
Yeah.
The auto, okay, where it has the high D and it shows down at the bottom when they are stressed. What does it say? They're dictatorial and what else? With the 4 columns.
Yeah, when they stress, they are dictatorial and critical.
There we go. So now you need to be like me. So if they're a high D and they get distressed with the movement of a high C because they move to the beat of their own drum and they precise with things, they just taking their time looking at it, they'll get frustrated. Now they critical. You need to be more this, you need to be more like that, blah, blah, blah. And then this person is also a high C wants, they're not going to too much try to respond out of their emotions and their feelings because they still trying to be a precise leader or analyzing the situation. They analyze their own emotions before they jump into an emotional situation or make a decision out of that emotion. They analyzing themselves. They can be very much an introvert or usually are. So they're doing a lot of reflecting. So when that person, that high D stressed out with them is now pushing them, this high C gonna drop down. And now he's trying to perform to the high D's level or even a high I. Now they all out of whack. So being aware of yourself and being able to say, hold on, I'm best. I'm not my best when I'm at 1, 2, 3. I'm balanced and I'm neat and I can be independent, but I'm at my best when I'm up here, when I'm systematic, when I'm a perfectionist. You follow what I'm saying? Systematic, careful, analytical. 88, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 8. Yeah. Systematic, perfectionist, careful. That's Darrell's superpower. That's when he on point. That's his sweetest. Somebody trying to push you off what you know makes you happy, where you good at, you can't mess with them. You got to be able to let them know. Don't do that to me.
I did an example of what you're saying too. I remember going to like it was this function where like people were partying and drinking and whatnot, but I was really just to myself, just just chilling. And a girl, it was a girl who was talking to my homie. My homie is more of a high I. He's goofy, he's charming. He likes to be a specific sort of way when it comes to being around women.
Okay.
But,
he that peacock.
Yeah. He be cocky with it sometimes, but I remember when the girl came over, she was like, "You like the total opposite of him." Like, and I'm like, "Yeah." She was like, she pointed it out. She was like, "I thought you were mean. Like, you just seemed like you just didn't like me or something, like us or something like that." I'm like, "Nah, it ain't that. It's just I'm more reserved and more chill." She was like, she didn't feel comfortable talking to me because she just put this stable on me as if I just didn't want to have fun with them. I'm like, no, y'all do y'all thing. Y'all look like y'all having a good time. I ain't in the mix, in terms of trying to be like them or, party to their level. I'm chill.
Because I think yours was more poised, sociable, and charming. Mm-hmm. Was your eye like 63 or was it 67?
Yeah, I'm like a mid when it comes to that. It's between charming, poised, and convincing. Okay. I'm not sociable unless somebody's coming up to me like being social. I'm not just about to just jump and try to conversate with random people all the time.
With a stranger, right. But when the conversation is there, somebody says hi, you can be very sociable, but you're more poised, charming, convincing, more to the laid back.
And she was really when she seen that I was able to open up and talk to her more, she was like, "Oh wow, I didn't know that." She's like, I didn't think you were like that. You just seemed like you didn't like me. I'm like, no, you seem like cool people.
Right. And that's
I'm joking with it.
And I think that's where, because you were a high C, and so you were a high S. I think that's what it was. So with your high S, when you're comfortable with a person or people or a group of people, you will also to some people, you can look like a high I because you come in joking, having fun, being yourself because you're in a comfortable environment that you used to being in. And then you can be talkative and interactive with the person or the people, and they can probably think you are I, but that's once we're in a comfortable environment. So where you was at, that environment, was that a party?
It wasn't a party though. It was what you call it? It was like everybody dressed informal, but they got a DJ, they had a bartender, it was midday sort of thing, like a midday event,
So
It
it was
wasn't
a
a party though.
gathering of not a
Yeah,
party, but it was a social gathering.
yeah.
Okay, and that's social gathering of being around a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you can be convincing or charming. Um, and it's even possible you probably, yeah, convincing and reflective. You're just watching people.
Mm-hmm.
If yours goes down, I'm not sure.
And I think, you know, I could, if I'm hanging around people I know who I have a good time with, I'm probably having a good time too, you know, but I'm not just about to be partying with strangers.
Right. Right. Makes sense. So, and that's just knowing where you are as far as yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But when we get around strangers and you're trying to see where you're at, that's where you possibly are acting in your adaptive. I would have to pull it up. But that's where you can be acting in your adaptive and not in your strong, poised, and charming spot and sociable that you can possibly hit sometimes. So if a new environment that you're not familiar with can make you come down,
Mm-hmm.
because that's also with the high S. You want to blend in or be a part of it, everything copacetic, flowing together, and supportive. You're probably watching and making sure everybody's okay. They having a good time, but you looking out for people, don't you?
Yeah, I would say that.
Yeah, you looking out to make sure nobody get bopped upside their head or nothing pop off crazy. Because if I'm with a clique of people, you become like the one that's making sure everybody okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a high S. And so that's you. Now, but you can be sociable and charming, but you more so stable and consistent and complacent. You watching everything.
Mm-hmm.
You making sure everything is flowing and everything's cool. I got y'all. Are you sometimes often the designated driver?
People look at me. I was told actually that I was probably the most mature out of the group. You know, when it came to anybody, when it come to like, you know, it seemed like everybody wants to talk to you, or like you're always the listener. You know.
Yeah. So that would be you, responsible, very that's the support. They can come
Mm-hmm.
talk to me, I'm supporting. Yeah, you the person they all looking to. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that, yeah, you're high S. Definitely. But you got some I in you. You know, we all got that when it
Oh, yeah.
happens, but this is more so your lead and your
Yeah,
seat.
because I was told I'm very charismatic too, so it's like, you know, I'm very
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, you got that walk, that swag to you. You got that boom. You walk in a room, you know, it's pretty subtle. But you confident in that approach to doing it. It ain't out here, hey, what up, y'all? Yeah. No, you chilly chill. But that's that high S and that high C.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's showing for you checking out everything, making sure everything is smooth. But yeah, that's good to know. The power is knowing when that comes down, are you acting in your adaptive? Did you all of a sudden start getting outgoing and restless, and what's causing it? You know what I'm saying? When you know when you go from adaptive to natural, and you want to be in your natural, when you know you doing it, that's when you got the power. That's the power of this, that when you know you doing it, you self-aware. That self-awareness allows you to move yourself in possibly an uncomfortable position. If you was trying to make a business transaction or connect with somebody, okay, I'm sociable and charming or poised, but right now I need to be a little bit more sociable, so I'm finna go speak to him. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And not stay in the convincing mode and just stay laid back and watch your opportunity go by.
Mm-hmm.
Trusting in the ability to be supportive and understanding and make a connection with a person, that's your strong suit. That's your strength. When you know that, you can get whatever it is you want to try to get. That's what all of us. When we recognize that, man, we powerful. We powerful beings. Very powerful beings. And it's a shame to be that powerful but not know it. And so let's know we are and be able to use that power like a mutant, be able to extract softly, hard, whatever. We want to be able to do that, to apply it to that nature. And that's what we're trying to help the client obtain. So next week we're gonna follow more of that. If the ladies come back, we're gonna go through the I, the S, and the C. When the ladies come back, we're gonna help them do the selling part. One of y'all is, gonna act like a D or an I, or I'm gonna pull up somebody, and that's what we're gonna work on. The next thing is I want y'all to make sure y'all taking care of yourselves, man.
Got you.
And what I mean by that is your own wellness. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Keeping yourself safe. And I'm not just talking physically keep yourself safe, but taking on a lot of people's problems and understanding them and trying to work out and navigate through this and service them. You got to be well. Mind, body, and soul. Make sure you get some type of meditation in, some type of exercise in. Make sure you eating right. Make sure your mind is right. How you see yourself. If anybody is feeling like, can I do this? Can I help somebody? Am I capable of it? That's the wrong kind of mindset. So that doubt and not being assured, not having enough faith in yourself, that can tie into mental illnesses, or not. That's not healthy mentally when you're very capable and you can do these things. So make sure you getting some time in. I be seeing Darrell out there walking with the ducks every now and then, and I'm like, that's some great stuff. That's what you should be doing.
That's my meditation spot.
Exactly. I just want to make sure that y'all doing that. Get that in. Whether I got this, I'm putting together a meditation. I forget how that's when you can put all these things together on YouTube, and you can put these things in there and add this and add that. And I got like a meditation one, books and meditation of things that I listen to and I recite, from how I look at money differently to my inner man, the power in myself. I listen to this stuff. You gotta have, I totally recommend you have something that you are encouraging yourself with, reading, and it should be constant, because the world is constantly putting out negativity every day, from the news, the Trump administration, the rioting, black on black, the racial tension. There is so much going on. Then you got your regular lives. You have got to take care of yourselves. Take that walk, put on the headphones. If it's some good, clean music, I get that too. Ain't nothing wrong listening with some Jill Scott or whatever that floats you, some Common Sense, or Kendrick Lamar while you walking and talking. But I'm talking about something that is telling you how powerful and a great person you are. Something to that nature, some affirmations.
Yeah, something I had to tell somebody too, who was going through a lot. I noticed that this person was like really depressed, and she was sending me music of like people who made depressing music. I don't know if you know who I don't know if you know who Rod Wave is. He a new rapper right now, but he really comes. He kind of raps from the heart a lot most of the time. Where it's like a lot of bad experiences he probably went through. But she's sending me this music, and I'm like, you need to stop listening. Like you gotta. I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but I'm letting you know the music you listen to is so powerful, because you already in a bad place, and you listening to the music that you want to feel like
gonna keep feeding it.
Yeah.
It's gonna keep feeding it. That's a number one. You feeling bad? Do not listen to nothing. Don't listen to the blues. Don't listen to nothing negative. You got to listen to upbeat music to change the mood, because there's no power in the depression. Because eventually, like I said, it leads to mental illness, and some people don't get it. They listening to a lot of negative things, and I F you up and blah, 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 this, and you ain't that. And you're just like, where's the upliftment in that? Where's the empower? Because either they making you angry or they making you depressed. Mm-hmm. And you are what you listen to.
Yeah.
So, I'm listening now to frequencies for prosperity, frequencies for healing and detoxing the body, raising my immune system. Our whole body vibrates. And when you get angry, that's at a different vibration. When you happy, that's at a total different vibration. So paying attention to that, like what state of mind you want to be in. If you're around people that's like, man, you want to be happy all the time, you don't. I mean, like, who choosing to want to be angry and wanting to be depressed? No, change that vibration, change those thoughts, change what you listening to. That's what's going to attract more of the abundance, more of the life, more of the joy. And so I'm really encouraging y'all, because of the things that's going on, and we closely approaching October, and there's a lot of things when this physical year is about almost on its ending. And even right now, I don't know exactly how religious some of y'all are, but the Jewish calendar, we're right now in Rosh Hashanah. And this is a festival of celebration. And the 26th next week we're going to be in Yom Kippur, and that's that time of atonement for prayer and thanking God for, the blessings and for atoning, saving us, keeping us, amongst all this stuff that's going on. And so, like I said, just looking at your spirituality and just what you're feeding yourself. Because if you're not whole, you're not well, how can you service them? The people that's going to be coming to you. And I also want to encourage you, as well as with this, y'all both coming into a season that there's going to be a lot of people seeking y'all out. Like, amongst all this hell, how y'all so peaceful? Well, we got a life coach.
That was so funny you
coaches.
said that too. One of the girls, I talk to her every day, and she was like, what you doing this weekend? And I'm like, I'm about to go to my grandma's funeral. She was like, what? Like, she kind of slapped her in the face, like, I would have never known. Like, I am so sorry. Like, you just kind of your personality, the way you carry yourself, I would have never thought, like, you were going through that. I'm like, it's way deeper than that. Like, I have to have a different perspective in the way that I hold myself, like grieving or whatever. Like, I know that, she passed away, but it was her time. And, not only that, but, I don't want her to go through pain, like, right. As much as, I would want her to be here, I don't want her to suffer either, though, right. So, like, and just looking at it from that way, I don't want to be that selfish person to want her to be back and she was going through what she's going through. Like, just let her pass on,
Right. Right. And it, like you said, you can rationally see that as she was of age. This wasn't a takeaway early in her prime. I had so much time with her. I loved her. I'm good. I'm at peace. She's at peace. You might have shared your tears. And some people, but that's the type of stuff that you can offer people. Mm-hmm. That's what people are looking for. Mm-hmm. And that's where, like I said, with y'all being coaches and learning basically this technique of it, but at the same time, it's already the raw talent in y'all. Is already there. So a lot of people finna start coming at you, Darrell. The more y'all put it out there that this is what I do and lining y'all sales up, it's like it's time to start getting some clients, man. Let some of these. So
I had to tell my homie that. I had to tell my homie that yesterday when we went to the gym. So what ended up happening was we left the gym, and it was a beautiful girl come by, and he like, bro, he wanted to say something to her. He say something to her. He's a high eye, he's a high eye. He goes up to her, he's talking to her, and then he walks away like, bro, I didn't even get her number. Like, I'm like, she was talking to you and she looked at like she was interested in you, bro. Like, what did you do? He was like, I just kind of just walked away. And I'm like, why you just didn't just give her your number then? Like, if she looked at interested, he was like, yeah, okay. I could tell she was interested. I'm like, he was like, you like, you know what, you're right though. Like, I didn't even think about it. I just kind of just got cold feet. And I'm like, but the thing was, his energy was there. Like, it was as if he knew, like, he was so confident in himself, and he walked away like, with question mark. Right?
And that's again with that high eye can be moving about with the emotions driving him,
Yeah.
He forgot the detail to ask for the number, or even you know what I'm saying. That was the final thing.
Yeah.
Because if he's so caught up in, ooh, she this and she beautiful and blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. How you doing and this and that? Man, I just wanted to say that to you, and you walk away like, why didn't I say, you know, what's your email address? What's your number?
Yeah, and then he
Because he
asked
moving
me, he was
so
asking me
fast.
for advice. He was like, bro, like, you was right, though. Like, you know, I didn't even think about it. I'm like, it's just keep it simple, bro. All you got to do is keep it simple. It ain't like, I'm like, she a human being. She bleeds just like I bleed. You know, don't think of it so deep. Like, you know, when you have expectations for people, then that's when you get disappointed and you probably do the wrong thing.
Too high of expectations.
Yeah.
Putting them on a pedestal. It's like, yeah, you keep it normal in yourself, seeing that this is a human. Yes, she's attractive, but it's like, you know, approach with caution. She can be a tyrant.
Yeah, she was open. She was really open to talking to him. So to show how you know much
he matched her energy.
Yeah.
She was receptive to that energy.
She was really patient with him and everything. I'm like, she was patient talking to you, so she was interested in some way to just allow you to be able to listen to you. And he just walked away like, bro, like, dang, like what? I forgot to ask you for the number, bro. And I'm like, she probably just got in her car like, I don't even know why
did he stop me? Right. She wondering it too. And so I don't know.
He complimenting her and her hair and everything. She like, yeah, you know, I do it like this, you know. I'm like, bro, you did all of that to just walk away.
He ain't leave his number or get a number. It's like, okay. I mean, he's just super friendly. That's what he looks like. He's just a friendly guy. No, but I hope this been good, man. I hope everybody